I suppose most of you have heard of Zen. But before going on to explain any details about it, I want to make one thing absolutely clear. I am not a Zen Buddhist. I am not advocating Zen Buddhism. I am not trying to convert anyone to it. I have nothing to sell. I'm an entertainer. That is to say, in the same sense that when you go to a concert and you listen to someone play Mozart, he has nothing to sell except the sound of the music. He doesn't want to convert you to anything. He doesn't want you to join an organization in favor of Mozart's music as opposed to, say, Beethoven's. And I approach you in the same spirit as a musician with his piano or a violinist with his violin. I just want you to enjoy a point of view which I enjoy.
Look, here is a tree in the garden, and every summer it produces apples. And we call it an apple tree, because the tree apples. That's what it does. Now here is a solar system inside a galaxy, and one of the peculiarities of this solar system is that at least on the planet Earth, the thing peoples. In just the same way that an apple tree apples. Now maybe 2 million years ago, somebody came from another galaxy in a flying saucer and had a look at this solar system, and they looked it over and shrugged their shoulders and said, just a bunch of rocks. And they went away. Later on, maybe 2 million years later, they came around and they looked at it again. And they said, excuse me, we thought it was a bunch of rocks, but it's peopling. And it's alive. After all, it has done something intelligent. Because, you see, we grow out of this world in exactly the same way that the apples grow on the apple tree. If evolution means anything, it means that. But you see, we curiously twist it. We say, well, first of all, in the beginning, there was nothing but gas and rock. And then intelligence happened to arise in it, like a sort of fungus or slime on the top of the whole thing. But we're thinking in a way, you see, that disconnects the intelligence from the rocks. Where there are rocks, watch out. Watch out, because the rocks are going eventually to come alive.
I've always been tremendously interested in what people mean by the word I, because it comes out in curious lapses of speech. We don't say, I am a body. We say, I have a body. And somehow we don't seem to identify ourselves with all of ourselves. We say sort of my feet, my hands, my teeth, as if they were something somehow outside me. And as far as I can make out, most people feel that they are something or other about halfway between the ears and a little way behind the eyes, inside the head. That is what you call the ego. That's not what you are at all, because it gives you the idea that you're a chauffeur inside your own body, as if your body were an automobile, and you are the chauffeur principle inside it. But you feel caught in a trap because your body's kind of a mess. It gets sick, tired, hurts, and eventually wears out and dies. And you feel caught in the thing because you feel different from it. And you feel the world outside your body is an awful trap. It's full of stupid people who are sometimes nice to you, but mostly aren't, because they're all out for themselves like you are. And the rest of it, aside from people, is absolutely dumb. Animals, plants, mere vegetables, rocks, and finally behind the whole thing, blazing centers of radioactivity called stars. And out there, where there's no air, there's no place for a person to live. And so We have come to feel ourselves as confronted with a world that doesn't give a damn about us.
In music, one doesn't make the end of a composition the point of the composition. If that were so, the best conductors would be those who played fastest. And there would be composers who wrote only finales. People go to a concert just to hear one crashing chord, because that's the end. But we don't see that as something brought by our education into our everyday conduct. We've got a system of schooling which gives a completely different impression. It's all graded. And what we do is we put the child into the corridor of this grade system with a kind of, come on, kitty, kitty, kitty. And yeah, you go to kindergarten, you know, and that's a great thing because when you finish that, you'll get into first grade. And then, come on, first grade leads to second grade, and so on, and then you get out of grade school, you've got high school, and it's revving up, the thing is coming. Then you're going to go to college, and by Jove, then you get into graduate school, and when you're through with graduate school, you go out to join the world. And then you get into some racket where you're selling insurance. And they've got that quota to make. And you're going to make that. And all the time, this thing is coming. It's coming. It's coming. That great thing, the success you're working for. Then when you wake up one day about 40 years old, you say, my God, I've arrived. I'm there. And you don't feel very different from what you always felt. And there's a slight letdown because you feel there's a hoax. And there was a hoax. A dreadful hoax. They made you miss everything. We thought of life by analogy with a journey, with a pilgrimage, which had a serious purpose at the end, and the thing was to get to that end, success or whatever it is, or maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing or to dance while the music was being played. You see, in the history of philosophy and poetry and art, we always find the interchange of two personality types, which I call prickles and goo. The prickly people are advocates of intellectual porcupinism. They want a rigor. They want precise statistics. And they have a certain clipped attitude in their voices. And you know this very well in academic circles, where there are people who are always edgy like that. And they accuse other people of being disgustingly vague and miasmic and mystical. But the vague, miasmic and mystical people accuse the prickly people of being mere skeletons with no flesh on their bones. And they say to you, you just rattle. You're not really a human being. You know the words, but you don't know the music. And so therefore, if you belong to the prickly type, you hope that the ultimate constituent of matter is particles. If you belong to the gooey type, you hope it's waves. If you are prickly, you're a classicist. And if you're gooey, you're a romanticist. And going back into medieval philosophy, if you're prickly, you're a nominalist. If you're gooey, you're a realist. But we know very well that this natural universe is neither prickles nor goo exclusively. It's gooey prickles and prickly goo. And you see, it all depends on your level of magnification. If you've got your magnification on something so that the focus is clear, you've got a prickly point of view. You've got structure, shape, clearly outlined, sharply defined. A little out of focus is going to go bleh, and you've got goo. But we're always playing with the two.
There is something in common in poetry and in music, in a certain way that both of them are the language of madness, which is to say that the poet and the musician together speak a natural and universal language, the original language that all creatures spoke before the fall of man. For in the Garden of Eden, before Adam and Eve had eaten of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, they understood
the language of all the animals, and spoke such a language themselves, which was the divine language from the beginning. This language is, of course, the language of the birds. And what does it mean? What does the shape of a tree mean? What do clouds mean? What is the meaning of the way the stars are scattered through the sky? Of course, we've tried to make sense of the stars, to project upon this scattering mythological forms. But actually, music might express the arrangement of those stars more correctly. Do, 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 do. And what would that be saying? What is Bach saying? What's the meaning of that? And when a tree grows, you know, it goes kind of... And then after that it does... Both poetry and music lead us to the understanding of what this world is all about, which is a dance, a rhythm.